Everyone in Chicago is convinced Caleb Williams is bringing a Super Bowl to the North. But while fans were celebrating the hype, NFL defensive coordinators were quietly dissecting his tape, and they found the exact mechanical flaw that could ruin his entire year two. The Madden cover isn't a supernatural curse, it's a massive target on Caleb's back. Every throw, every scramble, and every off-script escape from his rookie season has been catalogued, dissected, and converted into a blueprint for his destruction. And if this offense can't fix a critical footwork habit before week one, Chicago's championship window isn't opening. It's about to slam shut. To understand how we got here, you have to realize just how fast the narrative shifted at Soldier Field. For decades, Chicago was where quarterback dreams went to die. It was a historic franchise trapped in a perpetual cycle of conservative play calling, draft busts, and offensive mediocrity. But in less than 12 months, the Bears transformed from a punchline into the undisputed center of the football universe. When Caleb Williams took the field, he brought a level of improvisational brilliance the city had never witnessed in a navy and orange jersey. The media circus followed instantly. National broadcasts hailed him as the savior, jersey sales skyrocketed, and gracing the video game cover felt like the logical coronation of football's newest superstar. The hype train accelerated from 0 to 100, carrying with it an entire fan base that had been starved for elite quarterback play for over half a century. Super Bowl expectations were no longer a quiet hope murmured in taverns along Lakeshore Drive. They became the baseline standard for year two. Yet, underneath the neon lights and commercial endorsements lies a brutal reality about the modern NFL. Success in year one buys you accolades, but it also buys you something far more dangerous: thousands of snaps of high-definition all-22 film. In the NFL, nostalgia and excitement expire the moment the off-season begins. While Chicago spent months celebrating Caleb's legendary fourth-quarter comebacks, defensive coordinators across the league were sitting in dark film rooms with grease pencils, tracking every single step he took when his primary read was covered. Popular football culture loves to talk about the Madden curse as if it's some mystic hex placed on players who grace the cover. We look at historic injuries, sudden drop-offs in production, and unexpected team collapses, attributing them to bad luck or supernatural superstition. But when you strip away the superstition, the curse isn't magical at all. It is mathematical. By the time a quarterback reaches national icon status, the entire league has amassed an overwhelming library of data on their physical and mental tendencies. Play callers know precisely what hashmark he favors under pressure. They know which foot he leans on when he's about to scramble to his right. They know his eye manipulation patterns, his drop-back cadence, and the exact split-second delay in his processing when a defense disguises a coverage 3 shell into a blitzing cover 1. The moment you become the face of the league makes it its singular mission to break you. For Caleb Williams, that means his days of surprising defenses with unscripted magic are officially over. The NFL is an adjustment league, and the honeymoon period in Chicago ended the second defensive play callers identified the subtle cracks in his armor. The raw talent is undeniable, the arm strength is elite, and the competitive fire is unquestioned. But the trap has already been set. In a league where the margin between an MVP candidate and a tape-exposed sophomore slump is measured in milliseconds, Chicago's golden boy is walking straight into the most calculated defensive gauntlet of his life. When Ben Johnson took over the Chicago offense, he brought a play-calling philosophy built on mathematical precision. In Johnson's system, football isn't a game of individual heroism. It's a high-speed game of chess executed with surgical timing. Every route pattern is designed with microsecond dependencies. The ball is meant to hit the receiver's hands, the exact frame their foot plants on the turf, before the boundary cornerback can even turn his hips. When operated on schedule, it is an unstoppable machine that weaponizes space, forces defenses to reveal their coverage, and creates layups for the quarterback. But a machine only works if every gear turns at the exact tempo it was engineered to perform. And that is where the fundamental tension in Chicago begins. Caleb Williams did not become a generational prospect by operating like a programmed computer in the pocket. His entire football identity is built on creative anarchy. He is a backyard magician who thrives when the structure breaks down, extending plays with dizzying footwork, evading free rushers, and firing off-platform rockets downfield. In his rookie year, those heroic scrambles produced some of the most electrifying highlights in modern Bears history. But when you turn off the broadcast view and turn on the raw all-22 tape, a far more complicated picture emerges. For every jaw-dropping off-script throw that made the sports reels, there were 3 other plays where the system broke down entirely because Caleb refused the easy completion. On film, you see clean pockets with primary options breaking wide open at the top of their drop. Yet, instead of taking the rhythm throw for an easy 7 yards, Caleb's eyes often drifted downfield, hunting for the home run. He held the ball, hitched in the pocket, and invited pressure that shouldn't have existed. In college, an elite athlete can hold the ball for 4 or 5 seconds and out-athlete defensive ends until someone breaks free. In the NFL, holding the ball past 3 seconds is a death sentence. It completely compromises your offensive line's pass protection angles, turns disciplined route concepts into chaotic scramble drills, and exposes the quarterback to unnecessary violence. Ben Johnson's offense relies on the quarterback taking the profit the defense gives him, hitting the check down on 2nd and 8 to create manageable 3rd and shots. When Caleb bails on clean pockets to pursue heroic plays, he trades high percentage efficiency for high-risk gambles. This collision between scheme and instinct creates a dangerous illusion. To the casual viewer, a 30-yard scramble completion looks like genius. But to an offensive play caller, it represents a breakdown in discipline. When a quarterback consistently ignores the structure of the play, it strips the coach of his ability to set up defensive counters later in the game. You can't set up a third-quarter play-action shot if the foundational quick game passes in the first half were never thrown on time. The data behind this disconnect is stark. When Caleb threw the ball within 2.5 seconds of the snap, his completion percentage and passer rating spiked into the upper echelon of the league. But when the play extended past that threshold, his efficiency plummeted, accompanied by a staggering rise in sack rate and turnover-worthy plays. He was living on a razor's edge, relying on low-probability playmaking to bail out self-created adversity. Ben Johnson didn't come to Chicago to run a playground offense. He came to build an sustainable championship engine. The ultimate test of Caleb's second year isn't whether he can still make the impossible throws when everything breaks. We already know he can. The real test is whether he has the discipline to accept the boring, routine plays that keep the offense on schedule. If Caleb continues to fight the structure of the machine rather than mastering it, Ben Johnson's offensive blueprint will remain a brilliant theory crushed by the reality of NFL pass rushes. If you thought the schematic pressure inside Halas Hall was intense, look at what's waiting outside the building. The NFC North is no longer a division where an emerging team can quietly build momentum under the radar. It has mutated into the most unforgiving, bloodthirsty arms race in professional football. For years, Chicago could rely on a divisional landscape defined by transition, rebuilding rosters in Detroit, aging structures in Green Bay, and defensive inconsistency in Minnesota. Those days are dead. The Bears aren't sneaking up on anyone anymore. By thrusting Caleb Williams into the national spotlight, Chicago placed a giant target directly over Soldier Field, and their division rivals have spent the entire offseason retooling their defensive front sevens for one specific purpose: to drag Caleb back down to earth. Take a look at what's happening in Green Bay and Detroit. Defensive coordinators in this division didn't spend their spring breaks watching generic installation tapes. They spent them running computational cut-ups of every single dropback where Caleb Williams held the ball past 2.8 seconds. They dissected his special habits when squeezed from the interior versus pushed off the edge. In Detroit, Aaron Glenn's defense built an entire defensive identity around suffocating, aggressive man coverage designed to choke out quick rhythm throws, forcing young quarterbacks to hold the ball just long enough for a relentless pass rush to collapse the pocket. In Green Bay, Jeff Hafley's system relies on disguising post-snap safety rotations specifically targeted at confusing second-year quarterbacks who rely on pre-snap reads. These rival front sevens aren't just trying to sack Caleb. They are engineering specific defensive looks to trigger his worst instincts. They know his athletic gifts make him want to escape to his right, reset his feet, and deliver an off-platform strike. So, what do divisional defensive coordinators do? They build cage rushes. Instead of pinning their ears back and charging blindly upfield, defensive ends are instructed to set a hard, conservative edge, sacrificing pure sack production to contain the perimeter. Meanwhile, internal defensive tackles loop through the A-gaps, collapsing the pocket directly into Caleb's lap. The goal isn't just to tackle him, it's to strip him of his safe havens, force him to step up into a muddy interior, and make him throw from a tight, structured environment where he can't rely on pure arm talent. This is the psychological war of the NFC North blood feud. Division opponents see each other twice a year, meaning familiarity breeds ruthless tactical exploitation. A rookie quarterback might dazzle an out-of-conference opponent who only had 4 days to prepare for his movement keys. But inside the division, where coaches have filing cabinets full of data and personal vendettas, every single flaw is amplified under a magnifying glass. When Green Bay, Detroit, or Minnesota line up across from Chicago, they aren't playing against Ben Johnson's offensive system in the abstract. They're playing against Caleb Williams, the individual. They know if they can frustrate him early, force 2 consecutive throwaways, and bait him into a 3rd and long, his natural instinct will compel him to abandon the game plan and try to play savior. They are actively betting on his impatience. They are daring him to take the check down on 3rd and 8, knowing that if they can deny him the explosive play, they win the mental battle. The margin for error in the NFC North has evaporated. In a division where 11 or 12 wins might be required just to secure a wildcard spot, dropping internal division games because of quarterback impatience is catastrophic. Chicago built a roster capable of fighting for the division crown, but their rivals built defenses specifically designed to break their crown jewel. Caleb Williams isn't just entering year 2 of his NFL career. He is walking directly into a 6-game divisional cage match where every defensive front is programmed to expose his precise weaknesses. To understand the razor-thin margin separating NFL legends from tragic draft busts, you only have to look at the historical trajectory of year 2. In modern football, a rookie quarterback's first season is essentially a free pass, a honeymoon period cushioned by low expectations and defensive unfamiliarity. But year 2 is where the league presents its ultimate referendum. Examine the numbers behind the greatest sophomore leaps in history, from Josh Allen to Joe Burrow, and a clear pattern emerges. Their ascent wasn't powered by arm strength getting stronger or running speed getting faster. It was driven by micromechanical discipline. Conversely, when highly touted former first overall picks fall into sophomore slumps, it is almost never because their talent vanished overnight. It happens because their mechanical flaws remained uncorrected, allowing NFL defensive coordinators to lock them into predictable, claustrophobic boxes. The true test of whether Caleb Williams will take that elite leap or fall into the sophomore trap comes down to one high-stakes scenario. 3rd and long, trailing in the fourth quarter, with 7 yards of green grass needed and a blitzing linebacker barreling down the B gap. In those exact moments during his rookie campaign, Caleb defaulted to his God-given athleticism. He would drop his eyes, drift backward out of the pocket, and attempt to outrun the pass rush before making an off-platform throw across his body. In college, that instinct yielded viral highlights. In the pros, drifting 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 7 turns a manageable field goal attempt into a drive-killing 20-yard sack. Behind closed doors at Hallas Hall, Ben Johnson and his offensive staff aren't focused on Caleb's highlight reel off-platform throws. They are obsessing over the precise, unglamorous mechanics of his dropback, specifically a subtle 3-step footwork flaw that has quietly plagued his throw timing. When a quarterback drops back in a structured rhythm, his back foot must plant like a dagger into the turf the exact microsecond the primary receiver breaks on his route. That planted back foot acts as the anchor, transferring energy from the ground through the hips and into the throw, creating instant velocity and pinpoint accuracy. But on film, Caleb developed a dangerous habit of taking an extra false hitch at the top of his drop. Instead of planting and driving the ball on time, he would take a tiny, nervous hop, a 3-step rhythm turning into an unintended 4.5-step delay. That fraction of a second might sound completely negligible to an outside observer, but in the modern NFL, a 1/10 of a second delay is an eternity. It is the exact window a defensive back needs to jump a route for a pick six. More critically, that extra hitch uncouples the quarterback's eyes from his feet. When your feet aren't tied to your progression, your lower body becomes erratic, forcing your upper body to overcompensate. That is precisely why so many of Caleb's missed throws on simple slant and hitch routes sailed high or landed at his receiver's ankles. It wasn't a lack of arm accuracy. It was footwork divorce. Throughout off-season practices and film sessions, coaches worked tirelessly to rewire this subconscious muscle memory. They drilled him on marrying his eyes to his feet, forcing him to tie receiver number 1 in his progression to hitch number 1 and receiver number 2 to hitch number 2. The goal is to make footwork precision so automatic that Caleb no longer has to think about it. Because when 3rd and 8 arrives in late November with the season on the line, there is no time to think. Athleticism alone cannot solve a disguised cover zero blitz on 3rd down. If Caleb continues to take that extra false step at the top of his drop, defenses will eat him alive. But if he can master the untaken step, if he can plant that back foot with clinical, robotic consistency and fire the ball on rhythm, he unlocks the final element of his game. The transition from a backyard playmaker to a stone-cold pocket assassin is the single hardest step for any young quarterback to take. It is the bridge between temporary star power and sustainable NFL greatness. And whether Caleb Williams crosses that bridge will dictate the entire future of the Chicago Bears franchise. When you look at the architectural blueprint of the modern Chicago Bears, one thing becomes strikingly clear. This franchise did not build a roster to slowly grow over the next 5 years. They built an elite, expensive championship infrastructure designed to win right now. In professional sports, Championship windows do not open gradually. They fly open with violent force, and they slam shut just as quickly. By pairing a brilliant play caller in Ben Johnson with a stacked receiving core, an upgraded offensive line, and an opportunistic defense, the front office effectively placed all their chips in the middle of the table. Every contract structured, every draft pick traded, and every veteran acquired was tailored around one singular variable: maximizing the cheap rookie contract window of Caleb Williams. This is the hidden financial clock ticking beneath every decision made at Hallas Hall. In today's NFL, a talented starting quarterback on a rookie deal is the single most valuable asset in sports. It allows a front office to aggressive stack talent across the roster, paying top dollar for elite pass rushers, lockdown cornerbacks, and premier offensive linemen, because their most important player costs a fraction of his market value. But that competitive cheat code comes with an expiration date. In just a few short seasons, Caleb will command a mega extension that will swallow $40 to $50 million of annual salary cap space. The luxury of deep roster depth vanishes the moment that contract is signed. The window to surround him with an unfair amount of talent isn't a decade long. It is happening right now. That financial urgency is precisely why the stakes of year 2 are so astronomically high. If Caleb takes the leap, if he harnesses Ben Johnson's system, fixes that crucial 3-step footwork flaw, and delivers on third down in the pocket, Chicago instantly vaults into the ultra-exclusive tier of legitimate Super Bowl contenders. The city's half-century drought of elite quarterback play ends, the long-standing shadow of franchise mediocrity evaporates, and the Bears become a perennial NFC powerhouse. All the hype, the media circus, and the Madden cover become the celebrated prologue to a legendary era. But if he stagnates, if the tape unravels his instincts, if he continues to fight the structure of the offense, and if those uncorrected mechanical habits turn into a full-blown sophomore slump, the entire house of cards collapses. In the modern NFL, a stagnant quarterback on a win-now roster is a catastrophic scenario. Roster depth begins to erode as veteran contracts expire, coaching seats grow red-hot under immense media pressure, and an impatient fan base that tasted hope quickly turns toxic. The narrow golden window to build a dynasty closes without a single ring to show for it, leaving Chicago right back where it started, trapped in the endless cycle of football purgatory. There is no middle ground left for Caleb Williams. The honeymoon phase is officially over, the parade route has been cleared, and defensive coordinators across the league are holding the tape. Every throw he makes in year 2 carries the full, crushing weight of a franchise's historical desperation and future destiny. As the stadium lights ignite over Lake Michigan and the crowd rises to its feet, the narrative shifts from what Caleb Williams could be to what he actually is. The platform is set, the trap is laid, and the entire football world is waiting to see whether Chicago's golden boy ascends to the throne or falls victim to the ultimate disaster.